Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Chad Prather Show. We are coming to you Monday through Thursday right here on Blaze TV. You got to go to where podcasts are offered and you got to get this stuff. So if you're watching this on Facebook, we're going to a brand new format where you're only going to see a hot clip on Facebook, and then you need to go over to YouTube. Or you can go to where podcasts are offered, whether it's Stitcher, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts. I think that's the thing. So wherever you want to get podcasts, you can get them. And we need you to do that because it helps with the numbers. We can actually see who's out there listening, where they're listening from, what we need to target, things like that. And plus, it helps us when it comes to things like sponsors and advertisers. This is capitalism in action, and we believe in it 100%. I like the money. Anyway, go to where they are offered. You can search out Chad Prather on YouTube. I tell you what you can do. You can just go to blazetv.com/Chad, use promo code Chad, get an annual subscription, and you just watch it right there streaming. And you can get all the other stuff that's on there, and you can see my show Humor Me. You can even check out Party Foul on the Prowl in episodes of. Speaking of Party Foul, he's sitting over there. Look at you. You look so handsome in that cowboy hat.
It was wear hats today, so
no. This is like a school. It's like a school day. You wear your hat to school day.
Your hat to school day.
You remember those?
Yeah.
You didn't really go to school though, did you?
A little bit.
Yeah, you didn't do a lot of that.
I showed up.
You didn't do none of that reading or ciphering.
No. Barely got by.
I know. And Hot News Natalie's sitting over there representing South Lake Carroll. Look at you.
I was repping.
Do you ever feel ashamed of just showing off all that money? I mean,
listen, I grew up in a trailer, so let's keep it real. On the wrong side of the track, so I worked hard. Worked hard.
Well,
but I don't have a hat. I didn't bring my cowboy hat.
We'll get you a hat.
Well, I'm gonna share his halfway through.
You're the only thing that's halfway close to an actual cowboy in this room because you're a Cowboys cheerleader.
That's right.
So you can actually represent. But no, I'm so happy that your rich husband condescended to pull you out of that wicked stepmother's house and marry you and take you to the mansion in South Lake Carroll. It's a beautiful thing.
It's been nice.
The slipper fit, and I appreciate that.
I work, Chad. You better know it.
I know. Well, what would we do without you?
Thank you.
We got the puppet master, Mark Tate, sitting over everybody here. He's hanging out. And our new producer, look at her, Candace. She hides over there. Say hi to everybody. Candace doesn't have a nickname yet, but oh, my God, it's coming. It's coming. Metro Jason, he's off stage right there. And I got the legend with me here today, sitting in the hot seat. Lieutenant Colonel retired.
Oh, I was looking around for the legend.
I know. This guy didn't take accolades too well. I compliment him, and he's like, no. Former Florida Congressman, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Army, Allen West. It's good to be with you, man.
Good to be here. Thanks, Chad.
Yeah, I'm glad you sat down here with us today. There's so much to talk about. We were talking about that walking over to the studio. Like there's so many topics.
Yeah, I'll start off that whole thing about capitalism you were saying. I mean, we had someone that showed up in Austin, Texas this past weekend that kind of put capitalism down, said it was irredeemable. So I don't know if you and Miss Ocasio-Cortez are on the same, sheet of music. Maybe you could get her to come here and put on a cowboy hat. And
if I could get AOC to come sit down in this studio, it would be a life highlight for me. I would love to sit down and have a conversation with her. How dangerous do you think she is?
I think she is quite dangerous because she has taken over this platform, this microphone. And when you have someone like a Nancy Pelosi that can't control someone like that and stormed out of a caucus meeting, that lets you know that the tide has turned and the tables have been flipped.
Can you imagine going back to high school, being a senior in high school, and you rule the school, but all of a sudden a freshman comes in and starts taking over?
No, they go in the garbage can.
Exactly.
The dumpster. Remember freshman day? Yeah, you put all the freshmen in the dumpster. So, but unfortunately, no one is putting this young lady. And okay, everyone, I'm not talking about putting her in a real dumpster. It's a metaphorical thing because I know how the left is.
This comes from a man who has said things that have been taken and run with over the years.
Yeah.
And they crucify you for it.
They will absolutely do so. But when you think about Ocasio-Cortez and Omar and Tlaib and also Ayanna Pressley from Massachusetts, they're the ones setting the agenda. And we're just 2.5 months into this House Democrat majority, and everyone is talking about them every single day. And so it is a challenge to that status quo. But I think that this is who the left always has been. Yeah. And now they're out of the closet, if you want to put it that way.
I think gone are the days where you can say that the left is tolerant.
No, they're not.
I mean, they absolutely can't even say that anymore.
Well, look at what happened with the kid at Berkeley, at California, Berkeley. I mean, he's just there representing an opposing viewpoint, and he gets punched in the mouth. Next time, duck, kid. But anyhow, but it just shows you how off the rails they have become, because they don't want any type of challenge. As a matter of fact, the DNC chairman, Tom Perez, just came out and said, we don't want Fox News to host any of our primary debates because they can't stand the scrutiny.
Yeah. And it is. I liken it to taking the log in the backyard. You roll the log over, and the bugs run everywhere. And that's what I think this presidency has done. Is kind of shown the light.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I often tell folks that how sunlight is to a vampire, that's how truth is to the progressive socialists in the United States of America. They just go into a frenzy. But they don't want to be challenged. You will never get someone like that to sit here in this chair and talk about a Green New Deal or how she feels about capitalism or any of these other things.
I think that they so value the agenda and the goals of the agenda that they've relegated truth to something that doesn't matter. I'm willing to lie as long as the goal gets met.
There is no truth.
Right. And so you hear Oprah talking about your truth.
Yeah, your truth.
Nothing objective anymore.
Truth is a moving target. And so how interesting it is when we're sitting right now. And we don't have to go back into the 20th century to see the failure of socialism. It's happening right now in Venezuela. But yet you hear none of them talking about what's going on in Venezuela. And always remember that socialist dictatorships start with one thing. You disarm the people. So back in June of 2012, Hugo Chavez issued an order that said all private gun ownership is illegal.
Right.
And so now you get to the point where people are out there, they're throwing rocks. The military has weapons. And how does that work out?
Yeah.
It doesn't work out well. So you starve your people. They're going through, I think, the fourth day of a blackout. And now we have this person here in America talking about, in 12 years, we're going to all be dead. And so that's why we can't have any more fossil fuels and we can't have airplanes, although she flew to Austin in an airplane.
Exactly.
But this is just how far they have gone to completely show their delusion.
I think that, and you're 100% right. And you take.
Well, thank you. No one has ever told me I was
100% right.
No.
100% right. I always love the takes that you have on what's going on politically and culturally. I do, because you don't really mince words. You get right into it.
We're Southern men.
Exactly.
Yeah, Georgia boys, we don't have time.
We don't mess around.
No, we don't mess around.
You may as well. And I don't apologize for anything either.
We shouldn't.
I don't. I make it a public thing. And, if I need to apologize to a person personally for something, but when I come out with a statement, you take the thing that happened recently where Media Matters goes out there and they start digging through years and years and years of Tucker Carlson stuff, and they find where he's saying something that they find inappropriate. They don't find that inappropriate. They just want to crucify him.
Yes, absolutely. And when you go back and you think about all the things that the progressive socialist left says every single day, I mean, we have plenty that we could crucify them on. But remember, the rules don't apply to them. Ocasio-Cortez has a $1 million FEC violation allegation against her. Not hearing a lot of things about it.
Right.
Rashida Tlaib, a $17,500 FEC violation against her. Not hearing anything about it. Someone can stand up and make a series of anti-Semitic statements and comments. But what happens is, well, maybe she doesn't understand the language that she's using. Maybe she's from a different culture. Maybe she didn't really mean it. But yet, Governor Ralph Northam, old blackface, I mean, he's still in office. And oh, by the way, don't forget his wife, Pam, who handed out cotton balls to two kids that were visiting the governor's mansion, two black kids. She didn't give the cotton balls to the white kids, and she told them to think about what it was like if you had been a slave, living in slavery. So they always get away with these things. There's no consequences. There's no ramifications. And I think that the American people are tired of this dual standard.
I think they are. And that's, the platforms have been taken away from us largely. That's why I love, you take these different folks that are out there who, like Blaze TV. I mean, I don't mind, I believe that he who tooteth not his own horn remains in a perpetual state of untootedness. So I'll toot our horn a little bit. I love that we're bringing people that have conservative, libertarian, even sometimes, moderate on the left. These viewpoints are out here, but they're commonsensical, and we've lost that. And people, they look at it and they go, well, Facebook's been taken away from us. Twitter's been taken away from us. You and I both know what it's like whenever you're driving traffic to a blog that you have. You got yours, and I've had, politicalcowboy.com. And then January 27th in 2018, all of a sudden I went from having 700,000 people a day on my website to having 3,000 people.
Yeah, the manipulation of the algorithms, as they say, yeah. Because, again, they want to keep people in darkness. They don't want these truths that we're talking about to be exposed and be out there. Think about it. As young people hear, something that is different from the indoctrination message that they get in high school and college, they don't want that challenge.
Right.
And so this is about silencing all opposition. The left can only operate under these means. It's coercion, it's mandate, it is intimidation, it's threats, and last resort, it's violence. Mm-hmm. That's the history of leftist movements that you can go all the way back to, Hitler, Stalin, Chairman Mao, Castro, Che Guevara, Venezuela, and that's what you see.
I did a video, a social media video a couple of weeks back, and it got a lot of traction, and it was called Let's Try Socialism. And it was pointing out how dangerous, as we look at this and we flirt with it, it's really a dangerous flirtation. Mm-hmm. And so it was amazing to me, and it was for the first time I really got scared, because I realized this next generation, they really believe this crap. I mean, they're looking into it. I had one kid send me a message who said, why can't we at least give some of these new ideas a chance?
Well, they're not new.
That's a new idea.
They're not new.
I had another guy who said, but you can't prove Stalin killed that many people. I said, what planet are you living on?
Holocaust didn't happen either.
No, it didn't happen. Yeah, exactly.
No. Chairman Mao didn't kill all those people. Pol Pot didn't kill all those people.
Cambodia never. The killing fields.
Absolutely.
They just made a movie about it. It
but
was
see,
a joke.
That's the problem, Chad, in that we don't teach history.
Right.
And we don't teach civics. And so when you have these ideological agendas that are being, foisted upon our kids, like I say, in high school even now, and definitely in college, that's all they hear. They don't hear about, Hayek, or they don't hear about Milton Friedman, or they don't hear about any type of free market economic principles. They hear plenty about Marx and Engels and Keynesian economic theory. I'd like to know what type of classes did Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez take at Boston University? Because if I was her parents, I would ask for a refund. Okay, I mean an economics degree.
Yeah,
and you want to build a train to Hawaii?
Hawaii.
I mean, this is nuts.
Yeah, and you want to rebuild every building in America.
Every building in America has to be torn down.
Yeah, we're talking about a $900 trillion plan here.
And think about it. Here she was speaking in Texas. Now, Texas is about oil and gas, but yet she doesn't want any fossil fuels. Mm-hmm. And Texas is about moo cows.
Right.
We like our steak.
You remember when Oprah got sued?
Absolutely.
Over that deal?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, why would anyone give her a platform in the state of Texas to speak?
Yeah.
They should have laughed her all the way back to New York, a city that is about to go bankrupt, as a matter of fact.
Exactly. And they should have given her a Thomas Sowell book on economics and let her go. No, it's crazy. And so first of all, it's easy to go tongue-in-cheek with AOC and make jokes about her. I made a joke on Twitter about her hanging out with Bill Nye talking about climate change, and I said, hey, a fake economist and a fake scientist walk into a bar. And everybody says, why are you so triggered by AOC? Why is she on your mind? Why is she living rent-free in your brain? And I say it's important because, first of all, the fact that she could get elected with
16,000
now you got the
votes.
video that's coming out now that makes it look like she answered a
Justice Demo, a casting call.
A casting call.
Yeah.
We just put out 10,000 candidates and we were looking for a congressperson.
But see, here's a person that is out there in the public arena. They are a congressional representative, and they're talking about these policies. So you have the right. I mean, you do have freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Last time I checked it out. Maybe in a few years we may not have that. But you should be able to challenge those assertions that she's putting out. It's not about hating an individual. It's not about them living rent-free in your head. But when you're out there saying that capitalism is irredeemable, well, how do you think you got that iPhone?
Right.
Or the iPad? Or how do you think that you're not in a horse-drawn wagon? You took an airplane to come here to Austin, Texas. All of these incredible innovations. Look at what Texas represents, the economic growth and opportunity. And you're trying to tell us here in this state that the 12th largest economy in the world, this is irredeemable?
Right.
it's insane. It should be challenged.
This is a lady that used $30,000 on Uber fare during her campaign when the 7 train was 138 feet from her office.
But that's how they are, is do as I say, not as I do. And if you go back and you remember, the old Soviet Union had the thing called a Politburo. And there was a cut line. If you were above the cut line, you were part of the elite, you were part of the Politburo. Then everyone else was just the Joe and Janes, just part of that big collective that had to stand in line to get bread.
Right. I remember when first time I went to Russia, I was in Moscow, and we were, we weren't in the tourist area of Moscow. And it wasn't long, it was 94, so it wasn't long after the fall of communism. The residue of it was still there. It was heavy and oppressive. And we'd go out into those villages and take the train out there, and, they still got the sickle and the hammer flags that are out there. And some of the old propaganda posters were still on some of the walls. And you just kind of got that eerie feeling of what life was like in such a dreary world.
Well, before we got started, we talked about your dad being in the military. He was stationed in Germany. I remember as a young second lieutenant when I went through Checkpoint Charlie in 1985. Now, if you talk to young people today about Checkpoint Charlie, they would think, maybe it's a video game or something like that. But this was the place where you left liberty and freedom and you crossed over to tyranny.
Right.
And so for a young man of 24 years of age from the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm on the other side of that wall, and I saw the desperation, I saw the despondency, I saw the depression, I knew why there was a difference.
Right.
And sadly, I don't think that we have a lot of young people today that understand there's a very stark difference. I don't know if they don't look at the television and see what is happening to young people in Venezuela. I don't know if they fail to realize that this thing called socialism is all about taking your stuff. And they are the ones that determine the outcomes as opposed to you being able to determine your opportunities. And that's a big, big, separation from what we have here in America and what other people would like to have in America.
Right. Hot news now, Natalie. Do you understand how important this topic is as you live in your lofty abode in South Lake Carroll, Texas?
Not for long.
Oh, my gosh.
Well,
we're coming for you, girl.
I did want to ask Colonel West something. You actually wrote a book about this, Hold Texas, Hold the Nation, talking about socialism versus individual liberty. Tell me, and obviously that's something that could be taught in some of our economic and civic classes.
Well, the interesting thing is that when you look at Texas, so many businesses and corporations are moving here to Texas because of what? It has all the right tax and regulatory policies for them to be able to grow and to prosper. Think about the fact that Toyota has moved their headquarters from California to here. State Farm has moved here. American Airlines is here. I mean, we can go down the list, and we talk about that in the book. But yet there are people that are coming into the state of Texas that are still voting as if they were in these places they're coming from, being in California, New York, New Jersey, or Illinois. And it is very perplexing to me. I call it the Locus Defect, where you're in a certain, piece of ground and you chew it up and it's very fertile, and then you move to another place. And so this migration of progressive socialism that are coming out of these failed blue states, look at what Nevada used to be and what it is now. Look at Arizona. Look at Colorado. Look at New Mexico. And so now it seems that Texas are in the sights. And how can we sit back and allow a thought process, an ideology to come to a state that is all about rugged individualism, not collectivism, that is all about you going out and working hard and creating, your husband's about to open up an incredible, gun range. Would they allow that to happen in California?
200 machine guns is what they got. Let's get specific.
Yeah, that dog don't hunt out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so there's a reason why people are coming to these successful states. Look at Georgia. Look at what has happened in my hometown where I was born and raised in Atlanta, where now Atlanta has become this thriving blue area which almost dictates the entire political scene for the rest of the state. And that's what you see happening here in Texas. Because Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, El Paso, Corpus Christi, the only major city in Texas that is not run by the progressive left is Fort Worth.
Right.
And they got their sights on
And they
Fort
voted
Worth.
blue in this last, they voted
That's
for
right.
Beto.
They got their sights on Fort Worth now.
They do.
So Texas is in play.
We worked with several different campaigns that were going on during that election process. and not the least of which was Brian Kemp's campaign in Georgia for the gubernatorial race. I couldn't believe the things that the left's, the Democrat candidate Stacey Abrams was saying. I mean, the things
she wants illegals to vote.
Yeah. And that's where we're at.
That's where we're at. And the amazing thing is that I think there's an awakening happening. I mean, there's a turning point for this country, and we have to decide what our future and legacy will be. And it's right here before us. Like I said, you just look down the road to Venezuela, which 20, 25 years ago was one of the most prosperous countries in this hemisphere.
It's got the greatest oil reserves on the planet.
No one bigger.
Right.
And you think about the energy resources and all the resources that we have here in the United States of America, but yet you have people that want to do, as Hugo Chavez there, to bring it all under government control and to nationalize it. Now, why would we want that?
Yeah, when you go from the third largest economy in the world to literally eating out of the back of the garbage can, or the garbage truck.
They're killing zoo animals.
Yeah.
They're eating their own pets. I mean, how can that happen in 20 years? In 20 years, that's where they are. I mean, I think in the last 24 hours, about 20 to 25 people have died because of this blackout in hospitals. And this is what people want for the United States of America. And so I think it's very important we talk in those very specific and stark contrasting points and not be apologetic about it.
I saw the video recently that they kind of had to put it out there in secrecy, and they had to do it in secrecy. The guy's walking through the supermarket there, and the only thing on the shelves was Coca-Cola, 2 liters of Coca-Cola. There was nothing else on shelves anywhere. There was that and ketchup. That's literally all they had in the grocery stores in Venezuela, Coca-Cola and ketchup. Nothing there. Everything was empty.
If you don't have a hot dog, that's not a good mix.
You can't survive just off of ketchup alone. That's the crazy thing. We have no point of reference. People in America, this generation has not suffered. They've never been through anything hard. The closest thing we could even point to is something like 9/11, and that was a one-time event, tragic as it was. It's not, you're not in Israel with the potential of a bus blowing up at any given day in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. We don't live under those kind of things. We're not living with constant van attacks in the UK or France where the yellow vests are doing the thing. We're spoiled in this thing.
Without a doubt, we are. And for whatever reason, I think one of the worst things that happened in the United States of America is when adults looked out on a little league playground, soccer, baseball.
Right.
And they came up with this stupid thing to help kids' self-esteem called a participation trophy.
I agree.
That little plastic trinket that's supposed to make a kid feel good about themselves. Back when I was growing up, my parents would have said, boy, you need to get out in the backyard, you need to practice harder.
Right.
And maybe you'll get into the game. But we're not going to give you something for nothing. And now, look at where we are today.
Yeah.
You have a generation that wants to be given something for doing nothing. So that people can come up with the insidious idea of giving folks money even if they're unwilling to work.
Yeah. It's a human environmental non-event is what a participation trophy is. It's a rewarding nothing.
It's rewarding nothing.
I hate it. I despise it. It's one of those things, and I've caught a lot of flack over the years speaking out over it because there's folks but come on.
Yeah, but what does that do for a kid?
Exactly.
Think about it. This is one of the great times of the year. This is March Madness, and everyone's hooked in looking at all the tournament games. And next week, we're all going to get our bracket. 68 teams going to go in. Only one comes out champion. Now, why is it that we have this philosophy or belief that everyone should get a championship trophy?
Right.
What is the thing that you used to cheer for when you were a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader? Winning. Okay? There's nothing wrong with winning. But all of a sudden, we're supposed to be ashamed to be on Team America.
Right.
I'm sorry. I like to be top dog. I like the fact that I can go out and work hard and earn things, that I can sit on my back porch and look out over my pool or whatever. Because that's what my parents wanted me to have.
Exactly.
When my dad, who served in World War II as a corporal in the Army, at a time when this country did not afford him all the rights and privileges it did for others, this is what he wanted for me to be able to achieve and attain in my life. And who are these people that sit back and they're going to make the decisions? No, this is what you can have, this is what you can't have. And we're going to just flatline everybody, this social egalitarianism. We're just going to give participation trophies out to everybody.
Yeah.
It's not how you run a railroad.
Yeah. And Natalie lost the first year she tried out as a Cowboys cheerleader.
I did.
You were rejected.
I was rejected.
You cried, ugly cried.
Ugly cried, and I did not get my uniform and I went and ate cheeseburgers. It's like going to get ice cream. If you lose, you don't get a trophy.
That reminds me of the
That's what I need.
Was it Dodgeball when the guy he just around starts eating?
But you know, that's
fat.
what when I was growing up. If you lost, that's what you did. You got some ice cream. You didn't get a trophy,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, because you lost and you learned what it meant to lose, and that's okay.
And that's what we have to get back to. There's nothing wrong with failure.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn from failure. How many businesses out there in the beginning were not successful?
Yeah. There's y'all falling apart over there? What's happening? Y'all tearing down the peanut
was
gallery?
Steve.
Natalie, I didn't touch it.
Steve.
There's an interesting verse in the Bible. Hebrews says that no discipline is fun. It's not pleasurable at the time you're having it, but you are better for having been trained by it. And the word train there in the Greek language is gymnazo. We get our English word gymnasium. Mm-hmm. And so the Greeks, of course, they're known for the Olympics and things like that. They used to train, the athletes trained naked, which we could get back to those days, Puppet Master Mark. Yeah.
That's right.
But they used to train naked, and the reason they did it is so that the coach who was training them could look at it and say, you're getting a little flabby right there. We got to work on this part, and that was their whole deal. And so basically it's that if you're a child of God, he's going to expose you, and he's going to work on those parts that need to be worked on. These days, people don't have a concept for that. They think that suffering is a bad thing. It's not. Pain's a gift.
Well, again, in Romans chapter 5, verses 3 through 5, it talks about trials and tribulations. It produces perseverance, and perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. Not hope in man, but hope in God. And I think that, we had a saying in the military that you move to the sound of the guns. Too often we have become so complacent and so risk averse that we don't want to go out there and face the challenges. And that's the only way that you get stronger. I'm sure Natalie and all the ladies here, they like diamonds. Okay? But guess what a diamond is when you first see it? It's a rock.
It's a rock.
And what does it take to make a diamond? Intense pressure and heat. And when we shy away from that intense pressure and heat, like it says in James chapter 1, count it all joy when you come into these trials and tribulations, then we atrophy ourselves, our character, our muscle, everything, our brains. Because if we just want to be mindless lemmings and sit back and let someone else make the decisions for our lives and give us something even though we didn't earn it, to me, I got to tell you, Chad, that's a form of enslavement. And we need to start calling it as it is. And in a way, that type of mental and economic enslavement is worse than physical bondage. Because maybe one day you can break free. But there comes a point where, like in the Shawshank Redemption, where it talked about you become an institutional man, where you just don't believe that you can ever be independent and do anything on your own.
What do you think? And I've heard you talk about this before, and I've read plenty of things you said about this. The African-American community, we have the movements like Blexit that are going on right now.
Yeah.
They're really trying to, pull out, and we've all used it. I know you've used it. We're talking about you're living on that democratic plantation.
21st century economic plantation.
Yeah. That's what's the hope? What's the future for the African-American community, the black community across America? I mean, because I think that mindset is what's been bought into. Like, we can't think any other way.
Well, I think it's changing, and that's why you see all of these 2020 Democrat candidates talking about reparations. Here, come back to us. We'll give you something, because all of a sudden people are realizing, you've destroyed us. When I was born in 1961, the two-parent household in the black community was between 75 and 77%. Today it's 24%. And you can trace it right back to Lyndon Johnson, Great Society programs, and what he did to decimate the inner city, and especially the family.
Yeah.
And look at where we are today because of that. Look at the lack of small business entrepreneurship and growth in these inner city communities. So Donald Trump right now, he leverages between 17 to 20% approval rating in the black community. That's unheard of. A Republican is 17 to 20% approval rating. Why? Because now all of a sudden people are able to go out there and do it themselves. They're able to go out there and get the jobs, take care of themselves, take care of their families, go on a vacation, what have you. They're not economically enslaved anymore.
Right.
Candace Owens going out talking to these young black millennials and saying, hey, you don't have to settle for this. You don't have to sit around and wait for them to give you a participation trophy. Go out and earn your own trophy.
Yeah.
And it's starting to resonate.
Yeah, we're starting to see that too. The urban revitalization, the money that's being put into there. Donald Trump's doing those things. I think that whenever you look back, history, I think, is going to look back and say, wow, this guy that you all hated Did a lot for the black community. Did a lot for the Hispanic community.
Absolutely.
Unemployment is at an all-time low.
All time.
And, Donald Trump, God, he's a flawed man. We all know that. But
we weren't elected. We weren't looking for a savior.
We weren't looking for. You and I, the last time we were together, we were at the Texas Republican Convention, and Secretary Ben Carson spoke. Dr. Ben Carson spoke at the deal, and that's what he said. He said, "I was running for president, but America didn't need a choir boy. America needed somebody that was going to come in there and knock you out."
It's so interesting you talk about that, because if you go back, the first engagement that the U.S. Army had against the Germans in World War II was in North Africa. It was a place called Kasserine Pass. Got wiped out. One of the worst defeats in the history of the United States Army. Who did they bring in as the replacement general? Patton. Never lost a battle. Now, you could say, didn't like his personality or whatever, but the Germans feared him. The Germans feared him so much that they believed that wherever Patton was going, that's where the invasion of Europe was going to happen. And so they used Patton as a decoy.
I've had several people come at me, on social media and say, well, how can you be a Christian and support a guy like Donald Trump? And I'm like,
you're not putting your faith in Donald Trump.
And my faith, Donald Trump didn't die for me. He's not my savior.
No.
And you go back and you read the stories of King Cyrus, where God said,
or David,
he's my anointed one. Yeah. He's the one I've selected for this.
David wasn't a saint.
Right.
Nope.
David, took Uriah the Hittite and sent him to the front lines to be killed so that he could have Bathsheba.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. Cyrus, Nebuchadnezzar, Xerxes, all of these people God used for his people, for his people. And so, no, we're not looking for a savior. We're not looking for a Messiah.
Yeah.
We're just looking for someone that restores our constitutional republic and the foundational principles and values it was established upon.
And you look at things like that. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, he says God's taken the shameful things of the world, the foolish things to shame the wise, and the base things to. And I can remember James Robinson is a good friend. He's a mentor and a good friend. James, he was a Ted Cruz supporter. He's a preacher. He's got Life Today. He's an evangelist and just an incredible man. And so he didn't like Donald Trump. He said, I can't support him. And they said, well, look, you this is what you're about to get.
Yeah.
And he said, okay. They said, you need to go meet with him. And he said, I don't want to go meet with him. And James will tell you this story. He said it was a humbling experience because he said, I said, okay, fine, I'll go to New York. I want to sit down with him. I need 45 minutes undivided attention in the room alone with him. I want to talk to him. Donald Trump gave him 2 hours. And they sat in there and had a conversation. He came out of there a changed man after spending the time with Donald Trump. You're right. He's not the guy that's our personal savior, but I tell you, I think history's going to look back on him very kindly and say the man did a lot of good things.
Of course.
I can't think of anything the guy's done that's anti-American. Sometimes he's put his foot in his mouth, but hey, I do that every day.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah,
I mean, would I like to see him use Twitter a little bit less, or more so talking about policy than going out and some of the personal attacks? But that's who he is.
That's who he is.
He's a New York guy.
Right. He's Queens.
Yeah.
If you don't understand how people from Queens work,
they're rough and tumble.
It's
he was in construction.
Yeah.
So
has any politician ever been hired to be anyone's moral compass?
Well, some would say that they looked to a certain politician to be their savior or messiah, but no, they're not supposed to be your moral compass. Your moral compass is supposed to be something that you establish yourself, and they should be the values that your parents have, bestowed upon you. But I think, again, that's the problem right now in the United States of America, is that we're running and looking at government, being in Washington, D.C., being in Austin, Texas, what? Just please do it for me.
Yeah. That's the problem.
That is a huge problem. It's so funny that once upon a time, and some people still do, people go out and hunt and get their own food. But think about where we are today. Some people now sit at home and order their groceries and have them brought to them.
Right.
I mean, we don't even want to get up and go out and get our own dadgum groceries, man. I mean, how incredible have we just devolved to this state of lumpy?
I know.
I mean, we're just lumpy. I mean, I get out on my motorcycle. I got a big, Victory cross-country 8-ball motorcycle. And then here comes some little guy in skinny jeans on a scooter next to me. And I just look like, what in the Sam Hill, You should be embarrassed, boy. Okay? And I just crank it up and just drown my,
Panty wastes.
But who looks at that and says, "Oh, he's so lovely. He ain't gonna save you."
No.
I mean, back in the day of hunter killer, you'd starve if that was your man. Yeah. And so I just wish we could get back to this. I'm not talking about toxic masculinity, but I'm just talking about people being stand-up folks, and being willing to go out there and take the challenges.
Yeah, I've said over and over again, it gets me in trouble. That's the problem with third wave feminists. We never put them in their place.
Did I tell y'all I used HEB curbside service for the first time?
They're
this
bringing a
weekend?
lunch. Yeah. Crafty services. Good job, Steve. Good job. Could you at least wait until the colonel left?
Really lazy.
That's all right.
Way to go,
I had that
Steve.
conversation the other night. My wife, I said,
That's all right. Take your hat off and give it to Natalie.
What's that thing you use every day? The Diner Dash or the
Yeah.
what's it called, Steve?
DoorDash.
DoorDash. I don't use it every day. I've used
you
it
do every
once.
day. You're lazy.
And today.
Yeah.
Nope. That was
You're a
Jimmy
liberal.
John's. They deliver.
The Marines are ashamed to have had you,
Yeah.
Steve. Let me tell you
no.
something. The few, the proud,
Semper
the
Fi.
lazy. Yeah.
I think we were in Kuwait about the same time. I might have been-
2003, 2004.
No, I was 2001.
He was there for cleanup.
Hey, don't.
He was there to put the fires out.
No, they were already out.
Oh man, this is a tough crowd.
I just
Is
looked,
it real?
looked
All right,
around.
that's what I deal with, Colonel.
That's all right.
I was there for a sightseeing tour.
Yeah, in uniform.
I saw the airport. And
No, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, the diner. So I told my wife, I said, the DoorDash thing. I said, I think they deliver. I was just making conversation. I think they deliver where we live now because we're kind of out in the country. And she said, we'll never use it. And I said, why? And she goes, that's lazy. And I said, well, I wasn't advocating for it.
Yeah. She put you in your place quick.
She said, that's lazy.
As you
we're
hit
not doing
cancel.
it. So obviously
No
DoorDash will never be a sponsor of the Chad Prather
Grubhub.
show. Yeah. So that's the thing. And you're right. Someone at a show I was doing in Charlotte, North Carolina last year at a meet and greet, she said, do you think we're going to have a civil war? I said, no. She said, why? I said, we're too lazy. Culture's gotten too lazy. Unless they want to start the battle at 1 p.m. after the Kardashians go off and they can emerge from the basement and no.
I was going to say the Civil War is online.
Yeah, it
where
really
it's
is. It really is when you look at the social media platforms and everything. But you're right, except for the outliers where the guy punches someone at Berkeley. No, they don't want to get that. Takes like physical
energy.
And
we have all the guns.
I was going to say we have
So
all the
it's
guns.
Bring it on, Snowflake. I mean, I've never had a MAGA hat, but I'm thinking about getting one just to see if somebody wants to challenge me. I want to go to South by Southwest the other week. And
they won't. They'll look at you and say, no.
well, so the kid that got punched at Berkeley, we were at CPAC, and he was there. Yeah. President Trump brought him up on stage, and, of course, it was a great rah-rah moment where he says, he took a punch for all of us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that dude, if he'd have punched me, it'd have been a different deal. We'd have both been going to jail because it would have been a different deal.
No, he would have been going to the hospital.
Yeah, it would have been something.
I'd have been on him too. So.
Yeah.
I travel in packs too, so I got all these ex-military guys that are with me, but no, it's funny because I just the attacks that are out there, and walk me through the journey though a little bit because obviously there's a long history there, your military history there, and I appreciate you. I know you went through some controversy and stuff like that, but I appreciate you.
Standing up for your men in combat
Yes,
is not a controversy.
And you know what? And I agree with you on that, and I appreciate the take that you took on that, where you said, look, if it came down to my soldiers getting attacked or ambushed, I was going to do whatever it took. Yeah. And you didn't have ambushes happening under your command.
Nope.
So that was, and so I appreciate that. I appreciate the stance you took and the statements that came out through that. But then you had to come out into civilian life. Yeah. And how big of a challenge was that for you?
It was a very interesting challenge. It was funny because we moved down a suburb of Fort Lauderdale, Plantation, Florida. And I remember the guy across the street, came over and introduced himself, and we started talking about hobbies and everything like that. I told him, I was in the military, 22 years, used to be a paratrooper, and I ride motorcycles and I scuba dive. And he looked at me, he said, "Don't you think that's kind of dangerous?" And I was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, I've landed in the wrong place." But it's when you're around the military, you're around people that are going to have your back.
Yeah.
That honor, that integrity, that character, all of those things. They're bad soldiers, bad Marines, bad airmen, whatever, bad sailors. But as a whole, you're all there with the commitment of an oath of service that you took. And the thing that I compare, having spent 22 years in the military and then the 2 years that I spent in Congress, is that people are not there to honor the oath that they took as congressional representatives. They're there for their own self-interest or special interests. They're there knowing that at times they're totally lying, and they know that you know that they're lying, but they're still going to do it anyhow.
Right.
And one of the things is about in the military, you don't go home until the mission is done. But yet, Thursday, Friday maybe, noon, they're gone.
Right.
With all the things that are happening and going on, it's it'll be here, it'll come back. They never want to solve anything. And that's why I think a lot of the American people are frustrated. And that's why President Trump got elected. Because people saw this was someone that is different. He's going to go in there, he's going to shake things up, and he's going to be against the status quo that has become Washington, D.C. But, of course, that establishment is pushing back and is fighting back against him. But the American people have to assert themselves. And that is, again, I think the difference between what we have in the military is a commitment and a willing to, as Abraham Lincoln said, make the last full measure of devotion for something that you believe in. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know. I just wish that we could have that sense. I'm not talking about a national draft, but I wish we had that sense of love of country and patriotism all throughout this country.
Right. DC's nasty.
So
I don't have to tell you. I mean, government's nasty.
Mm-hmm.
And people want it done for them. And to say that means I want it to get bigger and nastier. That's the mindset. Because I know people who would claim and speak, their rhetoric would say they're conservative. But if all of a sudden government got more limited and small tomorrow, the way they live their life, whether it's government subsidized housing or health care, all these different things, the EBT cards and food stamps, their life would be in shambles because they're living liberal, but they're claiming conservatism, which is a limited government mindset.
Yes.
And then you say, well, we want everything done for us. That demands government get bigger.
Well, that's how you get socialism.
Right.
And socialism is dependent upon folks wanting to cede over their individual rights and liberties for someone else to do it for them, someone to give them that participation trophy. Mm-hmm. And so this is a very deep-rooted cultural thing that we're going to have to overcome if we're going to get back to, again, that rugged individualism that we once had here in the United States of America. Do I think that it's over for us? No. I believe that our greater days are still ahead of us, but we're going to have to go through this crucible. Mm-hmm. And we're going to really have to show that this thing called progressive socialism that we are up against. And I always like it when folks see me in the airport and they say, hey, you're Allen West, right? And they say, well, I'm a liberal, but I still admire you. And I say, well, I'm a liberal too. And they look and say, no, you're Allen West. You're not. I said, no, I'm a classical liberal. Right. What kind of a liberal are you? I mean, I remember, John Locke, life, liberty, and property, and natural rights theory, individual sovereignty. What are you talking about? What do you believe in? And when we start to make those type of philosophical comparisons, we got to make people think.
Right.
I mean, a lot of folks don't want to. We got to make them think. And I think that you can get people to understand. The minority communities in America are conservative in nature. Mm-hmm. They believe in faith, family, freedom, quality education, service to the country, those bedrock things. My parents were registered Democrats, but they're not these type of people today. And I think we may need to make that clear distinction.
Yeah, and you're right. I make jokes about it all the time, but I try to do, when I'm doing live shows and I'm doing comedy, I try to do comedy that makes a point at the same time. And I said, I miss liberals, like real liberals. I miss the good old fashioned. And people say, what are you talking about? Because they've forgotten what that is, and they've missed it. And now we've got, well, it's not even, it's leftist progressivism, it's socialism that they've embraced and gone into. And I don't think they realize how big that gap has become. Everybody lives out on the tips of the wings these days.
Yes.
And we live around there thinking we want one big left wing on the bird or one big right wing on the bird. Well, that's not a healthy bird.
No, it's not a healthy bird. And when you study and understand the Constitution, the Founding Fathers put us right center sector. Mm-hmm. They understood that there was uber government and then there was no government, anarchy. Or and they found that center spot. But the incredible thing about living in a place like America and the rights and freedoms we have, it requires a lot of individual responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are a lot of people that would rather play a blame game and say someone else can do it or someone else, did it, instead of them looking at themselves. The only Michael Jackson song that I like is that Michael Jackson song that says "The Man in the Mirror."
Mm-hmm. I like it too. Now, don't get me started on Michael. I can't watch the documentary because I love me some Michael music.
Right.
You know, the Neverland movie. I can't. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, you did. in a very bad way. Oh man!
I mean, I wouldn't let my kids stay at Michael's house. But,
you hanging out with little chimpanzees too?
Riding the Ferris wheel.
Yeah. No, but at the end of the day, it is about the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror. You've got to be able to look at yourself and say that at the beginning of this day, I woke up with those three things: my honor, my integrity, and character. Did I finish the day with? What do I stand for? What do I believe in? You know, I often tell folks, and for those people out there watching your podcast, go and read William Barrett Travis's letter that he wrote 24 February 1836 from the Alamo that was delivered by Juan Seguin over to Sam Houston. And understand that when William Barrett Travis was there at the Alamo, he was 26 years of age. He was a millennial. And too often we don't go to our millennial generation and say, do you want to be the skinny boy millennial, skinny jean millennial, or you want to be a William Barrett Travis millennial? Do you want to stand for something and believe in it, even if it means you're going to lose your life? You know, when I think about, this Colin Kaepernick thing, believe in something, even, why did they use Colin Kaepernick instead of Pat Tillman? Pat Tillman, at the prime of his NFL career, walked away after 9/11, enlisted in the United States Army, volunteered to be a Ranger, sadly lost his life in a friendly fire accident in Afghanistan. So why are we elevating a person like a Colin Kaepernick and not a Pat Tillman?
Yeah.
Why aren't we talking to our millennials about a 26-year-old like William Barrett Travis instead of an Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez? To me, it should be disgusting that we would allow someone to come into the state of Texas and talk against everything that Texas stands for, that a 26-year-old led 185 men to stand and sacrifice their lives for, so we could be here in this state today.
Yeah, that's perspective.
And that's what we have to start doing. We got to make those stark comparisons.
If not, and this is what we've talked about on other episodes, and I want your opinion on it. If, let's say she was old enough, and Ocasio-Cortez, if she was old enough to run for president, does she give Donald Trump a run for his money in 2020? Are we that far off the rails?
Of course she would.
Yeah.
Of course she would. Because there are enough disaffected young people out there that will follow her right off the cliff. But that's why the challenge for us is in our homes, with our children, our grandchildren. The challenge for us in our churches, in our communities. The challenge for us are in our schools. I always tell people, Chad, that the most important elected position in the United States of America is not president, senator, Congress, governor, school board. Now, the election in the United States of America that has the least amount of voter turnout consistently, school board. And then you ask yourself what's going on.
Yeah.
That we don't have a system of education, but instead we have a system of indoctrination.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. I've said for a long time that critical thinking is what we're missing. We don't know how to critical think. You go over to David Barton's place, and he'll show you tests that we used to give to children in the turn of the century into the 20th century, and we have master's degree educators who can't pass those elementary school tests.
Isn't that amazing? Because
they were so difficult by our standards today. And we have master's degree educators who are graduating with higher degrees. They can't take what children were taking back in 1900 and pass those things because we don't understand critical thinking anymore.
No, because the government came into education and we just have standardized tests, multiple choice at that. And so I taught high school for a year down in South Florida when I first retired, and it was such an enjoyable experience. I volunteered to go back to Afghanistan.
Can't even imagine.
Well, I mean, it was challenging, but what got me was the kids would be taken away from you if you weren't a math and English teacher, and they were just drilled on how to take a test.
Right.
How to figure out which two of the answers are completely wrong, and then try to figure out out of the two remaining which one you select. Not understanding the material or anything, just how to take a test.
Go with C.
Always C. Was that your plan,
C?
Steve?
Yeah.
It's like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You can phone a friend and.
Yeah.
There was a professor at the University of Georgia. He's still there. University of Georgia. His thing. He started saying that if you don't like, this is an article that came out last year. University of Georgia, where I went to school. He said, if you don't like your grade, tell me what you want. And you don't have to. It's an open book, open notebook. Open whatever test. And if you don't like your grade that you receive, send me an email and we'll correct that. And if you feel like you're uncomfortable in your group while your study group, you don't have to give an excuse. We'll just move you over to another deal. That's the mindset. That's
the participation trophy.
Yes.
And then think about it when that person does matriculate through that system and they show up in the workplace and they're like, what do you mean I have to stay here late?
Yeah.
What do you mean I have to, put in time? Why can't I have a bonus? Where's my raise?
Yeah.
What do you mean I got to put in, more work?
It's a crazy thing.
Yep.
What was I going to ask you? Did you, when Trump was elected, how close were you to winding up with a cabinet position?
Oh.
You were right. I know you try to play that humble thing. Don't do that with me, Colonel. Come on. I was hoping for you. I wanted to see you there. I still want to see you there. I got plans for you.
But then I wouldn't be here.
I got plans for you. We got a future. I got a future for you.
I thought that was Jeremiah 29:11. I thought God has plans.
Yeah, but we talked.
Oh,
yeah. So we talked. He confided in me. So I could see you there. I could see you in a couple places that I would love to see you. Secretary of Defense. I was all for that. I was all for it. And then I
wasn't a general though.
I have I don't care. We'll make you one. Participation general. I had plans. I kind of want to see you as a senator from Texas.
Here we go. Now John Cornyn's going to be calling.
He's going to be calling John Cornyn up and tell him, say, dude, John, you're done. But hey, look, Ted Cruz, he's already advocating, for the term limit. So John's got to go at some point. And we just follow you right in there.
You just got it all laid out, right?
I got it fixed.
You got it fixed.
The fix is in, baby.
Okay. Listen to you.
I'm thankful for you, though. I really am. I pray for you. You told me. I told you last time I saw you. I said, how can I help you? I said, if there's any way, you said, just pray. And I always appreciate that. And I do pray for you because I know you're up against a lot. You catch it, and you have over the years, and admirably have come through all of that stuff.
But you know what? It says in Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Right. And every tongue that rises against you in judgment, you shall condemn. For that's the heritage of those who love the Lord. I don't worry about it.
Right.
I don't worry about it because if God be for you, who can be against you? So I will continue to charge. I will continue to move toward the sound of the guns.
Yeah. You and I were at an event at American Airlines Center after the police shooting happened, and I know that you believe that because you made former Dallas Cowboy Jay Novacek get down on the ground and do push-ups. You penalized him. You made him do it because he'd messed up on a guest that was supposed to be there, and they weren't there.
They weren't there.
You're a strong man. I can't get Jay Novacek to do anything.
I just gave him the evil eye. Gave him the evil eye.
So I would ask you what's next for you, but I know your answer. You just letting God lead you.
Yeah. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not upon your own understanding, and all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll direct your path. He'll guide your path.
What's coming up next, though, as far as events and things like that? We got
a motorcycle ride coming up this Saturday. We're going to go up to my first tour of duty, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, the home of the Field Artillery. We're going to leave out of Strokers, Dallas on Harry Hines. So if folks want to come out and ride up to Fort Sill, and we're going to tour the museum, stop off at a nice little burger joint, and then head back down. I'd love to go on a nice little Saturday ride with folks.
That'd be fun.
Nice.
It'd be fun. That's a great place over there, Strokers, Dallas. Our buddy Rick Fairless has that place.
Yeah.
Great custom bike shop in there as well. That's a fun little venue.
It's fun.
It's a great place.
Yeah.
And when's the last time you went scuba diving?
October last year, and I'm with an organization called Dive Pirates. And what we do is we work with people that have spinal cord injuries.
Oh, that's great.
And so we'll be heading down to Cayman Brac in June. So again, divepirates.org if you want to come down and join us for a little scuba diving.
That's a good deal. What yours? AllenBWest.com?
No, theoldschoolpatriot.com.
Theoldschoolpatriot.com. Patriot.com.
Yes, sir.
Did I dream up Allen?
No, it used to be.
Used to be there.
Yeah, I had someone to try to take away my Facebook page, so I had to put them into place and move on.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, well, some people think that, they created you, so. Only God created me.
Theoldschoolpatriot.com. I love it. So go find him. You doing much on Twitter or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm out there.
You're always doing it.
Yeah,
I see
a little bit, yeah.
I hate it. It's a dumpster fire. But
Yeah.
you got to do it.
You got to do it.
Got to do it. Well, I appreciate you, Col Allen West. Thank you for coming on the Chad Prather Show. You guys need to, again, go to YouTube. Go to his website. You need to read everything he's ever written. You need to get his books. You need to do all these things because this man's loaded full of wisdom and
Hold
humbly
Texas,
so.
Hold the Nation, Victory or Death. You can get on Amazon.
I love it. I love it. So
And he's a good shot.
yeah, you go to Defender Outdoors.
I go to Defender and also the Crossfire Defense Academy.
Crossfire.
Yeah.
But soon
Soon we'll be at the Texas Gun Experience.
Yeah, I'll go and
Yes, we will.
pop some caps there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Machine guns. Machine guns. The thing about machine guns, and I've shot enough machine guns, is they're not like the movies lead you to believe. You know, it's like, and it's like that's it.
No.
I love how in the movies the clips, the magazines never run out. You know,
Yeah.
it's not quite that way.
Yeah, a revolver that shoots like 12 bullets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Check him out. Hey, go to blazetv.com/Chad. Use promo code Chad. Get on the Blaze TV and check out all the programs that are on there. We're having a blast doing this thing. And, of course, we're going to keep coming to you Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. Go to YouTube and watch if you're going to watch it, go to YouTube and watch it. And then if you want to listen, go to where podcasts are offered. And that's all over the place. We're out there. We're everywhere. Colonel, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
Great. Love y'all. God bless you. We'll see you later. Bye.
Thank-